and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here two new pens, and these pens are made by William Shakour in the UK. Now, William actually trained as an apprentice under John Soroka, doing nib work. William has more recently started to venture out into creating pens, and he's actually created these lovely pens. Now, I got to see these and I got to try these at the Midlands UK Pen Show in June 2019, and I decided that I would have a couple of these and pick these up. I sold William a pen, and we did this sort of like trade. So I do like these pens, and I'll show you what interested me about these pens. So if I just move one of them aside, and let's just focus on the green pen here. So first off, this is the first thing that attracted me to this pen was it's different, and I like different pens. So this pen is actually 3D printed. Now, there are other 3D printed pens out there on the market today, like the additive pens Double Helix, but this is a different 3D printed pen. Now, you can see all of the texture here. All of these lines are effectively layers where the 3D printer has stacked the pen up bit by bit. Now, you can have these pens either polished, which these two pens are, or unpolished. So that was the first thing that actually interested me in these pens from William. The second thing was the size. These are massive, massive pens. And then the third thing that interested me is that it's a piston filling pen. So it has a brass piston in it, and it also has an ink window or multiple ink windows. So you can actually see 3 there, and if I rotate it, another 3 here. So you actually have 6 ink windows. And you can probably see here the piston mechanism, and that bit there is the ink. So all of this is actually filled up with ink at the moment. Now, it is a faceted pen. It's a 12-sided faceted pen. And for me, I do like this a lot. It doesn't have a clip. It's rounded to the point. It's almost a little bit like a blimp in terms of the shape and size. The other thing that interested me was it comes with a Bock number 8 size titanium nib with an ebonite feed or feeder. Now, this really is a nice nib. So I got to play with these at the Midland Pen Show with William, and I really liked the flex. Now, I don't push titanium nibs that much, and there were other people there that were pushing them a lot more than I was pushing them, and still getting flex out of them. But for me, this is a really nice writer, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail in the writing samples. Now, you also see here that the threads here are at the base of the section. So this is something that Franklin Christoph do a lot. And to be honest, I never normally have problems with the threads being high up, but I know some people do, and some people do like the threads at the base there. So for me, it's not an issue. Like, I can have the threads wherever I want them, but William decided that he would actually create his threads down here at the base of the section. But as you can see here, if I zoom out, this is a mammoth of a pen. Now, in terms of posting the cap, you can post it if you really want to. There's absolutely no need, but it will spin around. It won't actually engage on there. So for me, and you can see here sort of the cap also, and the pen, has a little bit of translucency going on here. Now, these pens, as I mentioned, are polished, and it actually takes a couple of days for William to 3D print these pens, and then a couple more days if you want the pens polished. And the polishing will not remove any of the lines on the structure of how the pen was printed effectively. So that's something you have to bear in mind. But I actually do like that effect that's going on there. You can see it. It actually almost gives a bit of chatoyance. The light reflects off of it, and I find that that is actually quite nice. So you have the piston knob here as well. And for me, this really is a nice size pen. And I'll do a size comparison in a little bit. So in terms of ink capacity, because it's a large pen, I've actually measured this at 3.06 milliliters of ink. So this will hold a huge amount of ink. Compare that to, say, a Visconti Homo sapiens with a double reservoir, or a Visconti Opera Master. They will normally hold 2.5 milliliters of ink. So this holds a lot more, and if you really want a long writing session, then this really would be a pen for you. Now, I do also have the purple one. So I got a green one and I got a purple one. So William actually has a lot of different colours that he can print these in. So this purple is a little bit more on the darker side, a little bit more of a like a browny black. I think William calls it a bronze purple, and I can kind of see why there. Now, if I uncap the cap there, you can see inside. Hopefully you can see a little bit of purple there coming through, but it is a purple pen. And again, this is a number 8 size nib. Now, I did actually pick these up, both of these pens, with a medium nib, but I did ask William if he could also supply a broad nib as well, although I probably won't need it. But on both of these pens at the moment, I have the medium nibs, and these really do not disappoint. And you can see there just how thin that ebonite feed is, and this feed does not have any problems keeping up. So you can see here again in the size of my hand, this really is a large pen, and again it's a piston filler. Both of these pens are. So this is I was talking to William about these pens because there isn't actually a name for them yet, and William was thinking of calling them something like the Big One or something along those lines. And I've loosely for a few days been calling these the Titan, partly because they are mammoth pens, and secondly because they have titanium nibs. Titan is short for titanium. William's also thinking about maybe Atlas, but I think at the moment he's looking at going with Titan, and I think that would be a really good name for these pens. But I really do like how they've turned out, and I love how the printing, you can see the lines here, and I know that's not for everyone, but for me, I actually think it brings a bit of character to the pens. So what do I like and what do I not like about the pens? Well, look at the green one again. I love that it's a piston filling pen. I love that it has 6 ink windows here. I love that it has a number 8 size nib with an ebonite feed, and I love how it's a really large pen. Now, I think in terms of the dislikes, I really don't have a lot of dislikes or things I don't like about the pen. I would say, if anything, some people might have a dislike because you can see the lines printed when the printer is actually stacking the pen up, when it's printing the pen. The other thing, I guess, to mention, and I don't see this personally as a problem, but sometimes it's a little bit hard to put the cap on, because the threads here actually engage where the cap is starting to taper down a little bit. So sometimes, like, that went on straight away there. Other times you can, if you don't quite get it square, it can take a little bit to get that cap to go on. For me, I really don't have much of a problem there, but I thought it was something that I probably should mention. I don't know if that's something that William can improve on in future versions of the 3D printed pens. I think it would be great if he can, but for me, like, normally, if you get the cap square on, it's not a problem. So there you go. Like, it's pretty much like there. I had a little bit and there, but it really depends on how well you cap that pen into the cap itself. But for me, it's not a big issue at all. And sometimes, in terms of dislikes, some people don't like large capacity pens in terms of ink capacity. Personally, I do like it because I never run out of ink. I know some people prefer to change ink regularly, but for me, this really is a nice size pen. So I think let's do a size check and weight. We'll do a pen comparison, and then we'll do a writing sample of each. So the length of this pen is 171 millimeters in length. So this is a big pen, and this is the largest pen I have in my collection now. And then the cap is 66 millimeters in length, and then to measure from the tip of the tines, because that is a very large number 8 size nib, you're looking at 155 millimeters in length. So that is quite a lengthy pen. Now, in terms of weight, now these pens are inked up. The weight of the pen is just under 45.5 grams. The cap itself is just under 8.5 grams, and then the pen inked up are looking at 37 grams roughly. So it's not a light pen, but it's also not a heavy pen either. Now, we have a little bit of a problem here. So, as you can see, these pens do not fit in my pen trays, and they actually do not fit in any of my pen cases either. So maybe this should be considered a downside of the pens. I really do love the size of these pens, but you will need a very, very long pen case to be able to, or even a pen tray or pen drawer to put these pens in. So that's something you need to bear in mind if you decide to buy these pens. But from left to right, you can see here we've got a Pelikan M600, and this is the turquoise white, a Pelikan M800, and this is the Royal Gold Rawdon. We have a Visconti Jacques de Molay, an Armando Simone Club Bologna Extra Arco Verde, and these are, like the Jacques de Molay, large pens. Then you have the two titans. We have the green, and then we have the purple. We have another Armando Simone Club Bologna Extra, and this is the Arco Brown. We have a Visconti Opera Master, which again are very large pens. This is the Crimson Tide. And then we have the Speakeasy, which is a mammoth of a pen. And you can see in terms of the girth, the width of these pens, these are actually wider than the Speakeasy. And then we have a Visconti Divina Metropolitan. So this is the midi size. So let's do a writing sample. So this is the William Shakour Titan, and this is the green, and it is a titanium nib, and it's a medium, so a medium titanium nib. Now, in terms of line variation, actually, in terms of ink first, this is inked up with Diamine Sherwood Green. Now, in terms of line variation, you can see just a standard line. Now, you can actually push these quite a lot more because they are titanium nibs. Now, the actual writing experience on these, I'm not going to push it any more than this. I've seen somebody create a line width of about 4 millimeters with this, and to be honest, I would be very worried about springing the nib at that point. But you can see here already the line variation is actually quite a lot. And in terms of the writing experience, I find that these actually write very similar to the Omas OM81 Extra Flessibile nibs, or even the Scribo nibs, which are basically the same nib. But they are gold nibs, 14 karat gold, and this is titanium. But I have the same pencil-like feedback on this nib that I would have on one of those OM81 or Scribo nibs. And I do like it, and it has the flex as well. So now we have the purple one. So again, this is William Shakour, Titan, and it's the purple. And it really does have some lovely line variation on it. And the ink in here is Diamine Majestic Purple. And again, the line variation, so this is just a medium nib, and you can see here, like, if I don't apply any pressure, that's the kind of pressure I get. If I apply a little bit of pressure, I get these lines. And then I can really apply a lot more pressure there. So for me, these are really, really lovely writing nibs. I've tried titanium nibs in the past. I've tried the Bock titanium nibs on Conids, and I've really not liked them. They've had a lot of feedback on them. In terms of the price of these pens, they aren't expensive. So these pens are £185 from William. It takes him 2 days to print these pens, and then a further 2 days if you want this polish-like finish. Now, you might be thinking, well, £185 is actually a lot for a pen. However, the actual number 8 size Bock titanium nib is £110. So effectively what you are getting is the hold of the pen, excluding the nib, and the brass piston for £75. And at the moment, William is actually chucking in 2 days of polishing for free. Now, personally, I think getting the price of the pen under £200 is a good idea. I'd almost suggest that William could probably charge £20 for the polishing, because that's extra work that he's having to do here. And get it coming in at £199 and maybe £179, so slightly less if you wanted the unpolished version. So at the moment they're £185, polished or unpolished. That may change over time, but I do think that that is a really good price for these pens. I guess one other downside is that, as I mentioned, these pens will not fit in most pen cases, pen trays or pen drawers. So you will have to be creative in looking on how you want to carry these pens with you. The other thing that I hadn't actually even considered is that you cannot fill these even with the Penida pen fillers because the sections are too wide, too girthy. So you do need some deeper ink bottles like the Diamine 80ml bottles, or maybe the Robert Oster bottles, or even maybe the Ackerman bottles to try and fill these pens up, because you won't get them into a sample vial either. So that's just something to bear in mind. But for me, these pens are really, really good writers. I'm really glad that I saw William at the Midlands Pen Show. I got to try these nibs and these pens out, and I'm glad that I was able to pick up 2 of these pens from William, and I may even pick up a 3rd one very soon because I've got a spare nib now. So I kind of think that maybe I should actually utilise that nib, and for effectively another £75, it seems a no-brainer to me to have another pen in a different colour. And I was toying with the red colour as well. I like purple, I like green, but I also was toying with red, so maybe I'll pick up a red from William at some point in the next few weeks or months. So that's a review of the Titan pen. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.